Thank you very much. Amazing. Thank you. It's very excited to be here in San Juan. For me, first time that I come here. And, you know, I was thinking I had a very long flight. I spent the weekend in London, flew to Madrid in the morning, and had a very long flight here. And I was thinking about speaking here and lecturing everyone here. And I was thinking about the fact that historically, you know, the people who are studying Kabbalah and the people who are studying Kabbalah today, there's throughout history, and I don't understand Spanish, unfortunately. I didn't exactly get everything that it was saying about introing Kabbalah, but the fact that for thousands of years, the people who are studying any spirituality, not Kabbalah per se, any form of spirituality, were very few. Information as a whole was controlled by religion. And the people who control religion own the information, own the knowledge. And they transfer the knowledge as they wish. Sometimes great, and there have been some great leaders in the past, sometimes not so great. Because as we know, religion, as Kabbalah teaches, religion is one of those things that was given to this world, given to our world, to bring people together. Being in one path, and whichever path we choose as our path to God. But it's not working. The translation's not working? It is working. Okay. So, religion as a whole was brought and given to this world as a path to bring us together. And whichever path we choose, it should make a difference. Because our ultimate goal is connection to God. The path we choose is our own choosing. Either it's a path we've discovered or given to us. And anytime I go and speak in anywhere where Kabbalah wasn't a natural thing, like in Caracas, there's no history of Kabbalah or you know, different places in the world where there's no history. Especially since throughout history there was only very few people studying. Very few people studying. And there were small groups passed from teacher to student. But a few pieces of information that's not totally known. First, the main book of Kabbalah, the Bible, if you wish, of Kabbalah, is called the Zohar. The Zohar, written in Aramaic over 2,000 years ago. Everything okay? So, 2,000 years ago, the main book of Kabbalah, the Zohar, is written. And it was passed from teacher to student. Even after it was first brought to the people, at the time there was no printing press. So you would have to write it out and then somebody else would copy it. When the printing presses were invented, when books were starting to print, somebody had the idea to print the Zohar. And it was actually in Italy. And the person who allowed the first printing of the Zohar was the Pope himself. Said this book needs to be printed. This is a spiritual book. And when I go and I travel to different places, and I try to give some information of Kabbalah. You know, go to all kinds of places in the world. And what's not always completely understood is that Kabbalah is a wisdom. It's not any form of religion. And if anything, has been embraced by most religious figures around the world. In the 13th century, the people who championed the Zohar, who were like the biggest supporters, were the Christian Catholics of their time. And even today, the split of people who study Kabbalah, 85% Christian, 5% Jewish, 5% Muslim, and 5 other. Mixture of all kinds of things. And it shows that everyone around the world who wants or has a desire to study any form of spirituality, in today's world, it's available. So, whether you're very religious or casually religious, it's not something that you have to give anything up in order to do. It enhances your experience. Our path to God is individual. We all want to get to the destination and be closer, if that's something that we choose. And along the way, along our path, sometimes we need support. We don't always have it all figured out. Even though sometimes we think we do. Occasionally the universe shows us that we don't. No, I haven't yet seen a 5-10-year plan who actually goes according to plan. We make a plan, we make the effort, but usually something happens on our way to derail the exact manifestation of that plan. So, one of the first concepts that I'd like to talk about, and traveling around the world talking about the book that I wrote, Change Everything, and every time I choose a different kind of area or topic to talk about. And when you experience life, you experience that there's issues everywhere. Everywhere you go, even if you go on vacation or you go for work and you go see other people or just our friends or family, everyone in this world seems to occasionally have problems, obstacles, things that are blocking them from in their path. Either a health thing or a financial thing, especially now in the world, finances is something that's challenging. We seem to have challenges. And usually, when we get the phone call from a friend who's going through something, or we get a call from our lawyer or our accountant that we have a problem, usually the first thing is, no, I can't believe that's happening. We go on this, assuming that this is a very, very terrible thing. Usually the fact that something happens and we get news of something terrible that happened, usually we just assume it's bad. But in truth, if we truly examine things that happen in our life, not always the things that we originally thought as bad actually turned out to be as bad. And not things that we thought were, oh my God, this is great, actually became great. Now imagine, guy pulls off his wife and says, oh my God, I just got the best promotion. I'm a nuclear scientist, and I got to be the CEO, I'm going to be the head guy at a power plant. But the only bad thing is I'll have to move to Chernobyl. But I'm going to be the guy. And he's so happy. And then the whole thing explodes. So his promotion ended up being not the best promotion. Or the guy who tells his wife, I I am going to captain the Titanic. Who wouldn't want to be at that time in the world the captain of the Titanic? Everyone who's a captain of a ship, that would probably be their dream job. And yet we know exactly what happened. Not everything that looks great is actually great. And on the flip side, not everything that's so bad is actually that bad. I actually was talking to my mom maybe half an hour ago. My mom also is in the teaches Kabbalah around the world. And talking, she's like, what are you going to speak about? Talked to her about some of the stuff I was going to speak about. And I remember, she reminded me a story of what happened. A friend of ours, a mutual friend of me and my mother, had a car accident, maybe a month ago, had a car accident. And my mom gets a phone call, oh my God, this person's mother had a car accident. So, we did a prayer for her, because, you know, she had a massive concussion. She went she didn't wear her seatbelt, unfortunately. Her head went straight into the windshield, into the wheel of the windshield. She had a massive concussion. Nothing else was hurt, but she had a massive concussion. They thought maybe some brain damage. They taken her in the ambulance into the hospital. The first thing they do an MRI, find out how much damage is in the brain. Just everything else, there were cuts and bruises, but the main thing was her brain. And all this time, we were all nervous because she had this massive concussion. While she did the MRI, they found the beginning of a tumor in her brain. The beginning of a tumor. Immediately she goes to surgery, they take out those cells, and she's 100% perfect right now. And had she not had the accident, she probably doesn't know about those cells. And maybe, when she actually starts experiencing symptoms of that tumor, maybe it's too late. So their initial reaction was, oh my God, car accident. But it was actually probably one of the best things that ever happened to her because of what happened. So our sense of judgment of what happens to us in this world, our sense of what actually we experience is not always right on. We have to keep that in mind as we experience life. What we think is great may not be great. What we seem to think is not so great may be the best thing. And if we look throughout our life, you know, we may call up our friend after a great date and we'll say, I had the best date of my life. 5 years later, we're going through a massive divorce. And, you know, there's this massive battle and stress and money and all this. Maybe if we didn't have that great date, we don't have to go through this massive divorce. You know, there's so much of life. I mean, we could laugh about it and it's funny, but it happens all the time. Our sense wouldn't be great if we somehow could have a fast forward of a year down the line. Who's the people who are going to mess with us? Who are the people who are going to, you know, take a little life out of us? And who are the people who are going to benefit us? Even though it may start as a challenging relationship, you know, back and forth, maybe there's a little jealousy, but eventually there's someone who's going to be with us forever. Friend, family, partner, something close. So, as we start understanding how to change maybe some of the things that we're not exactly 100% happy with in our life, the first thing we need to know is that we don't always know. We don't always know. We don't always know We don't always have all the answers. No. I have a son who's a Leo. Leos, I don't know if anyone in your life is a Leo, they tend to think they know everything. It's not that they think they know that they know. And you're not going to, there's nothing you can do to make them think otherwise. But even a Leo needs to know sometimes that they don't have all the answers. You know, it reminds me of a story I once heard. I hope this works in the translation. The story works in English, I hope it works in translation. Einstein and his wife, Albert Einstein and his wife, go camping. They go camping, they take the tent, they go to the beach, they set up the tent. They're having this romantic time, Albert Einstein and his wife. 3 o'clock in the morning, they're sleeping, and Einstein's wife is, Albert! Albert Einstein wakes up. Yes, my dear, how can I help you? He says, Albert, look her. You see the stars? He says, yes. So what do they tell you? What do the stars tell you? So Albert Einstein says, you mean the astrological sign, the astronomy, the energies, the planets? What about the stars can I help you, my dear? His wife says, Albert, you idiot! Idiot? I'm the smartest person in the world. How dare you call me an idiot? He says, Albert, if you can see the stars, it means they stole our tent. So, just because we're smart doesn't always mean we have the right answers. Doesn't always mean that we figured things out. We Albert Einstein are not given. So, as we try to move forward in our life, and as we try to have an impact on ourselves and the people around us, or even on the world, just keep that in mind. We don't always know. Leave room for when someone asks us the answer, maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know right now. I'll work towards the answer. Or harder words to say out of my mouth is, I made a mistake. I thought it was like this, but I made a mistake. Being okay with mistakes and being okay with not knowing and understanding that we don't have it all figured out always is an essential understanding in being successful in the path of life. The other aspect, as things happen to us in this world, is not and never to ask. The other question that we love to ask is, God, why are you doing this to me? What did I do to deserve all this? Why are you punishing me? You know, like, sometimes we think that God has nothing better to do than to mess with our life. He has a little voodoo doll and keeps on pressing it on us. Because somehow he doesn't like us. And then we say, God, why do you do this to me? Instead of spending the time and energy in trying to figure out who did what to us, we should spend that time and energy in trying to fix the problem. But so many times, we spend a lot of energy in asking, why is it happening? Being in that victim consciousness. And being in that, why am I here? As opposed to, you know what? If you spent that energy in asking the question, why are you here, into being somewhere else, you wouldn't be here anymore. And it's one of those things that just locks us into place. You know, and whether it's an illness, whatever it is that we're battling, spending time and energy in trying to figure out why it happened to me. Time to just goes by and we stay in the same place. First, we have to understand that we don't always know, but second of all, we have to not focus on why we got to this place, why we're in the place we're in, no matter who did what to us. It reminds me of another interesting story about a king who went fishing in this river, and he lost his ring. And he calls all his advisors, and he says, any one of you who gets me my ring back, I will give you whatever you want, fulfill all your wishes, answer any questions, whatever you want, I'll do for you. No one moves because they know that there's snapping turtles, there's alligators, there's all this stuff in the water. And no one wants to move. Suddenly, this one guy jumps in. 3 minutes later, comes out with the ring. He's all bloody. His blood gushing out. His shirt's all messed up, full of blood. And he says, King, here it is. So, okay, my special advisor, what can I do for you? What can I get you? What, you have a question, something, whatever you want is yours. He says, I have only one thing. I want to know who's the guy who pushed me into the water. He could have had anything. And instead of asking for gold and silver, property, houses, anything, he takes that opportunity, wastes the opportunity, because he wants to know who did it. It's like that. We do the same thing in our life. Instead of spending the effort and the time in moving ourselves forward, we spend the time and energy in why are we here? Why was done to us? Who did what? We have a limited amount of time in the day to actually get stuff done, actually focus and direct our energies. It's limited. We actually look at our life. Very limited amount of time to move things. You know, almost every single person overestimates what we can do in a year. Time just goes by. And if we spend the energy on what's not important, if we focus on the things that are not so important, we won't be able to achieve the things we came here to achieve. It's like, you look at Lance Armstrong, Tour de France and all this. Before he got sick, he won 0 Tour de France's. 0. Only after he got sick. Now, if he spent his time afterwards figuring out why he got sick, he doesn't even know Tour de France. You know, so many times after something happens, we actually grow. But as long as we leave the victim consciousness behind and we embrace our new situation as a new challenge, and then make something of the life that we're given, and not stay in the old place and blame the rest of the world for everything that we have or don't have. We have to push forward and start focusing on the future instead of focusing on the past. Focusing on what we can do and not on what has been done. Then when we start looking at solutions to moving forward and new focus. Unfortunately, there are 2 types of solutions. Fake solutions and real solutions. To explain. Fake solution. A fake solution, it's like this 30 years we're visiting Afghanistan. 30 years we're visiting Afghanistan. What happened? A bunch of years ago, the Russians invaded Afghanistan. Big problem to the U.S. The communists are moving south in Asia. Big problem. So we go and we give billions and billions of dollars to the freedom fighters. Genius idea. We give all this money to the freedom fighters because that's going to solve our problem. The freedom fighters actually win. And the Russians evacuate. And they leave. And they retreat. The only problem is those freedom fighters become the Taliban. Now we have to spend another billions and billions and billions of dollars to take away the people that we actually put in the first place. And it's like, when any problem comes to us, the immediate problem to solve is not just, what do we do right now? But when we look at anything that's either a global kind of thing or even in our life, there are real solutions and there are fake solutions. Someone who has constant headaches and keeps on popping, whether it's Advil or something more to get the headaches and stuff. At some point, she goes to the doctor and check maybe there's something else happening. Instead of just having a fake solution. But it's true in our life in general. And sometimes those real solutions, sometimes they're even, a little painful. Painful to have a real solution. You look at a conflict. I traveled to the Middle East a lot. Traveled to Israel, to the Palestinian territories. I traveled to Syria. Traveled to Iran. Different places there. There's a real problem there. Somewhat religion-based, somewhat land-based. To actually have a solution there, it's going to take some real compromise on both sides. To have a real solution, sometimes it's actually difficult. And we have to sacrifice for a real solution. When two people are married for 5-7 years, and they're starting to have issues, as most people have, in order for them to be able to move forward, it's going to take some real compromise. Or for any two people to have a long-lasting relationship, whether it's friends or family or a loved one, it's going to take some real compromises. We're not naturally born to be able to share our life with other people. That's not our nature. Our nature as human beings is not to be trusting and sharing our life with others. In order to have a real connection to somebody else, we have to make compromises. But real compromises, not fake ones. Real compromises. I've had to actually one of my compromises, forever I sleep with my wife and my BlackBerry, right next to me. I charge it, and if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm checking my email, checking this, going at a movie. One of those compromises is certain times, not just give it up. You can't give up your BlackBerry, but you could find the middle ground. Well, at least I can. You can find the middle ground. If it's that, being present, for me being present, I travel, so when I'm home, to be actually there. To be actually present with my children, present with my wife. It's not easy. I'm a Gemini. I'm very ADD and out of focus a lot. And to be able to focus my energy. So it's not easy for me. It's one of those things I forced myself to be able to do. And any one of us, either with our children or even at work, if we want long-lasting, fulfilling relationships, there are compromises that we will have to do. And if we are unwilling to compromise, unfortunately, we won't be able to have long-lasting relationships. Real solutions mean real compromises. Fake solutions don't require real compromises. They require, it has to look like certain things, but they're not long lasting. You know, talking about something and not acting on it doesn't actually, doesn't actually do something. You know, one of my books is a relationships book. I talk about men in general. You know, men, we like to talk. We don't always like to act. Right? We like to explain things to our wives. We like to talk about it. We don't actually want to follow up with action. So the fake solution is talking about it. The real solution is backing up the talk with action. And if we want to get to a place in our life where we're actually working towards real solutions, we have to back up that talk with actual actions, and not just words. Because at some point, it stops being about what we talk about. It actually becomes who we are through our actions, and not only through our words. In today's world, there isn't a person who could say, I can't. We all can. There's limitless opportunity to if we don't have the perfect job, we don't have the right job, the opportunities that exist today are far beyond any expectations we had 100 years ago. 100 years ago, you were born into a family, chances are that's what you did for the rest of your life. 100, 200 years ago, you were a farmer. Family was farming, you were a farmer. Family was this, you were that. There was a road paved already for you. Today's world, we have so much more opportunities. It requires work and everything, but opportunities are there. You go online and find somewhere in the world, or right here in wherever you live, and find the perfect place for you. Also, the social web, Twitter, Facebook, which another one of my semi-addictions is not Facebook for me. I'm not one of those who have all kinds of friends around the world who I talk to, but people ask me questions, and I like to answer them personally on Twitter, on Facebook, on email, and one of those things that I'm also trying to balance between that and I hear my sons as I'm saying this. I hear my sons always, Dad, are you on Facebook again? And anyway, but in today's world, we have the power. On average, a person has 100 Facebook friends, 100 Twitter friends. If you have something to say, if you have something you want to share, you can no longer say there's no one to share with. Even if you live in a small town, which most of us don't. But even if you do, there's still people you can share with. There's still people who will want to hear what you have to say. The opportunities are also limitless. We have unlimited opportunity in this world today. But with that also comes responsibility. Because if you can't share, then you must share. If you can find the ultimate solution, go and find it. No, the excuses that existed hundreds of years ago don't exist anymore. Don't blame anybody but yourself for anything, because the opportunities are out there. Because in today's world, you can. And no matter where we are in our, how much power we think we have or don't have, even sometimes small actions have big manifestations, have big reactions. Especially as we move into this world is so much closer. We could be anywhere in the world and contacting people from anywhere in the world, talking to people from anywhere in the world. I'll share a story about action and reaction. One of my good friends, he also happens to be a famous person. I'm not trying to drop a name or, it's just a story that happens, I'm just going to share it with you. One of my best friends is Ashley Puerto. And he does, I don't know, he does these Nikon commercials. You ever see it on TV, he does these Nikon commercials. Originally, when Nikon came to him and said, do you want to do this? He said, nah, I wasn't into doing this Nikon commercial. 2 weeks later, he was in New York, and he met a lady who was doing research on biology, and told him, I really need a microscope to continue my research, a very specific microscope. And he said, okay. He found out that Nikon makes their microscope. So after that conversation, he goes back to his agent and he says, tell Nikon I'll do these commercials, but they also have to donate a microscope to this lady. Great. Even if the story ended there, it would be very nice. Nikon, when he does these commercials, he gives that. A month ago, he's browsing online and he sees a story in Reuters. The lady that he gave the microscope to Nikon, actually discovered a gene for some disease. Using the microscope that he gave because he did the Nikon commercials. And maybe, if he doesn't do that, that's never discovered. And sometimes we do actions. Sometimes we don't even see the reaction. We may do a favor for someone. And then we go and we don't realize the manifestation or where it actually ends up. Sometimes we do, but more often we don't. We don't always see, the chain of events, all the dominoes that happen from doing our positive action to the actual result at the end. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And we need to be able to act and go as if we see, even though we don't always see. But if we do enough, eventually we'll see. Eventually it's going to come around back to us. Either directly, where we do a favor for person A, they do to B, to C, and then it comes back to us. Sometimes that circle happens. Often it's a bigger circle and we don't even connect the dots. Because by the time it comes around to us, it's so far away that we don't know what's connected. But we need to know. One thing we need to know, that any energy we give out to the universe, that energy will come out. Whether it's positive or negative. If we throw out positive energy to the world, that energy will eventually come back to us. If we throw out negative energy into the world, that energy will come back to us. It's not always immediate. It's not always right away. But it does come back. Sometimes it looks like very positive people have not such a great existence right now. And sometimes it looks like people are doing negative actions seem to have such good things and such great things. The universe doesn't lie. Eventually, everything becomes clear. It may take a year, it may take 5, it may take 10. But positive energy brings back positive energy. Negative energy brings back negative energy. That's one of those laws of the universe. It just doesn't always look, because time little messes. One thing the universe is not great at is time. It's not a one-to-one. You put in, you get out. The time thing somehow gets a little confusing. You put energy today, but it comes back 3 days later. You put energy today, it comes back a week, a month. But energy always comes back. Always comes back to its original place. And anything we put out eventually comes back. And the one thing we need to constantly remember, there would be one thought that I would like to leave with you. One thought. is that our limitations don't make us less. Our imperfections don't make us less. Just because we've done mistakes doesn't mean we're less. Just because we have some limitations in us doesn't make us less. We are all as capable and as powerful as anybody else in this world. We are. And we are worthy of having it all for our life and then sharing it with others. There's a story about a Calvinist, and he was studying spirituality. And he goes to his teacher, he says, Master, you know, you're great, you're fine and all this. But you know, I've read that if you're really a good student, you get to merit not only to have a teacher, which we all love to have some kind of mentor. Sometime in our life we've had a mentor, some form of mentor in our life. But if you really do the work properly, sometimes you merit to have, you know, somebody very much higher come and reveal themselves. You know, there's people, I know a whole group who's going to Montenegro, to Serbia, Herzegovina, to Bosnia this week. Because at a certain place in Bosnia, the Virgin Mary comes and reveals herself every so often. And people go there. There's different places in the world, different saints get revealed. And people go there to connect. And sometimes, for people's lives, they can also have a saint or a prophet or someone reveal themselves. So the student tells his teacher, he says, Master, what can I do to merit some form of revelation of a higher kind of power? Maybe a prophet, maybe Isaiah comes down and reveals himself. Maybe some saint that lived 50, 100, 500 years ago comes and reveals himself to me. And maybe tells me something very special. He says, my student, go to this town, a few 200, 300 miles away. Go to them. They'll invite you in for dinner. Have dinner with them. And the prophet will reveal himself. Okay. He travels to that town. He gets to the town. He finds the family. He knocks on the door. And he sees, holes in the ceiling, all kinds of, says, the prophet's going to come and see me in this house. So he takes out some money and he says, go and fix their roof, piece for their roofing. He says, here, take money it was freezing in the house, get some wood for the fire. They had no food for dinner, and he says, let's get a feast together. The prophet's going to reveal himself. We better have good food, please. Food, wine. The kids didn't have, he gives them money to buy clothes for the kids. Like, he really takes care of them. He's so happy. He's very excited because tonight, not just a regular flesh and blood teacher, but a prophet. He didn't know which one, but he's hoping for like the top, the A-list prophets. He's hoping for some really, really special someone. So he's going all out. The night comes. Dinner is served, there's a feast. Dessert. The guy's waiting. He's waiting for the prophet. Nothing. Dinner's over, he's all depressed. Goes to sleep, wakes up in the morning, goes back to his village, all upset with the teacher. He can't believe that his teacher wasted his time. His time, his money. This is terrible. He goes back to the teacher, he says, Master, I did all this and nothing. He says, you know what? Go back in 2 weeks. On a specific date, go back there and I promise you, this time, the prophet will reveal himself. I promise you. Last time I didn't promise, now I promise. Okay. He waits 2 weeks. He goes back to the town. He goes back to the town. He's about to knock on the door. And he suddenly hears a conversation between the father and the son. The son asks his father, he says, Dad, it's my birthday tonight. And I know that I can't bring friends over because we don't have that much money. But maybe at least our family, we have a few kids in the house, and you and Mom, maybe we could just have a cake. Have a cake to celebrate my birthday. Something. It's my birthday and there's nothing. Can't even have a cake. And his father tells his son, he says, do you remember what happened when it was Mom's birthday? He says, no. He says, we had nothing. Nothing. And then God sent the prophet from heaven. And he fixed our roof. And he gave us a feast. He says, God sent us that prophet. Maybe tonight he'll send him again. And he understood. He understood. That you don't always have to wait for someone from heaven to be that prophet. Sometimes we are that prophet. Sometimes we have that merit to be that for somebody else. That revelation for somebody else. The God's messenger for somebody else. Don't need to wait for someone to go on some trip to go and find God. God actually resides inside each and every one of us. And as long as we understand that and appreciate that God says, don't go looking for me. He's right inside. And we can. And not our imperfections make us less. Not our limitations make us less. But each and every one of us is capable and powerful enough to achieve everything that we came here to achieve. Everything that we came here to do. And the life that we came here to have. Because none of us have had the life yet. We will, but yet we haven't. The complete full fulfillment from the Creator, from God. We're all capable of more. We all will have more. Just never think of us as less. Because each and every one of us has a part of the divine inside. We are powerful, we are capable, and we will manifest everything that we came here to do. It's been great spending this evening with you. Thank you very much for giving me.